Hey everybody, welcome to the Ground Effect podcast, where we dive into the heart of Formula One, bringing you the latest news, insider analysis, and sharing our thoughts on the motorsport we love. So come and join us, G and Mick, as we look forward to what promises to be an exciting 2025 Formula One season. What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Ground Effect podcast. We've got a big one on today discussing the Chinese Formula One. We had a sprint race to go over, main race to go over, and of course, the rumor mill is hot. Now, I'm joined by Mick, who's still enjoying his little holiday over on the east coast of Australia. How you going, mate? And did you get your times right and catch the green light?
I managed to catch it from the green light this time. It was nice to get 2 races in a weekend. I don't mind the sprint format. It really tests the teams and the drivers, makes the racing a little bit unpredictable, as you know, they don't have the time to sort of get themselves sorted. So yeah, it was a decent race. Wasn't the best race in terms of racing, but you know, there was still a fair bit going on. A lot of talking points to come out of it. Disqualifications, rumour mill with Liam and Jack Doohan, that's set to go into overdrive, like you mentioned, over the coming week and a bit as we head into Japan. And yeah, some sad news coming out of the Formula One world earlier this week.
Yeah, it was. Formula One world definitely lost an extreme charismatic character in Eddie Jordan. And I guess for the newer viewers, you may not be so familiar with him, but for those that were watching Formula One, particularly in the 1990s, will have a lot of memories of his team and, you know, how he punched above his weight, being a independent owner and managing to score a few wins, not to mention a few iconic liveries.
I mean, for me, I'll always remember Jordan as the yellow Benson and Hedges as an iconic livery. Like you said, definitely punched above his weight. Never held back, told it how it was. Very charismatic and will definitely be missed by the Formula One world.
Yeah, definitely. And let's not forget, he was the guy that gave Michael Schumacher his first big break in Formula One in the early 90s. A big loss to the Formula One world, that's for sure. Now, moving on to the weekend, we, as mentioned, just the one practice session to get your head into the right space and get your car set up right before the sprint qualifying. Tough gig for the rookies. It seems to be like a lot of teams were struggling just getting the tyres in the window, but a great result for the sprint qualifying with Lewis Hamilton getting his first pole for Ferrari. And a bit of a throwback to a grid that we used to see quite often with Max Verstappen joining them. So it was like 2021 all over again.
Yeah, no, it was really good. It was good to see. Good for Hamilton, good for Ferrari. Yeah, it was a big moment, I think, even just for Formula One in general, for Lewis to get his first pole and his first win, albeit a sprint race. It was still awesome to see, and awesome to have Lewis and Max on the front row.
Yeah, it was good news for the Ferrari fans. Yeah, probably a little unfortunate for McLaren. I thought they would have done a little bit better in that first sprint qualifying, but not to be. But obviously moved on to better things later on into the weekend. Now, the sprint race, again, great result for Lewis. Picked up the win. Oscar in P2. Max falling back to P3. Few good results there for a few other drivers, notably Yuki in the points, Charles Leclerc in P5, Kimi in 7, and the final point, Lando. So a little bit of a disappointing race for him regarding the championship qualifying. This is where the big things happen for our boy in Australia, Oscar Piastri, took his first pole position, and with a little surprising split between the McLarens for George Russell, P2, and Lando in P3.
Yeah, Oscar, pretty faultless weekend. I think he needed that after Australia, minimising his mistakes and maximising when Lando's a bit off, which he was in the sprint qualifying. So podium there, and then come out and put it on pole like he did. And then that drive over the race was impeccable. No mistakes. He pretty well had that race covered from turn 1. Surprising for George. He's putting himself in those good positions where he can capitalise for the main race. That's all you can ask. We know George is a good qualifier anyway. Max, he's going to extract the most out of the car over those qualifying laps.
Probably a little disappointing for Max and Lewis considering they had the 1-2 for the sprint race, but I think realistically they know how strong those McLarens are, and they definitely shone through during that qualifying. Isaac Hadjar outqualified Tsunoda, which was a great result for him in P7, whereas Yuki had P9. Kimi doing the right things, P8. Albon, again, out-qualifying his teammate and Carlos Sainz, so a little bit of an intra-battle starting to happen there. Albon's got the upper hand. Of course, Liam Lawson, plumb last. Pressure is on, which, again, is going to spark a lot of rumours going into the Japanese Grand Prix this week. Now, Ferrari, just pretty disappointing race. Later on, they were disqualified, which we'll go into more detail. A little bit of contact between Leclerc and Hamilton on lap 1 of the race. Leclerc suffering from that end plate damage, which didn't seem to affect him too much. How do you see that one playing out, and also the team orders?
Yeah, so you're right. Charles was lucky he did take both him and Hamilton out there on turn 1. As far as the strategy with switching the drivers over, I think Ferrari should have got on top of that earlier and not left it to Lewis to come up with the idea. In the end, I think that cost Charles a chance at the podium. Yeah,
you reckon he would have got there into P3 like with that end plate damage? I mean, he was relatively quick with that damage, but I always thought it would have affected his tyres at some point.
I think the time it took to swap them around, they did that a lap earlier or 2 laps earlier. I think Charles would have definitely had a better chance at getting on the podium there.
Yeah, Leclerc, he was showing good pace at that point. I mean, it was quite an interesting message where the Ferrari engineers were trying to obviously orchestrate the move, and then Hamilton chimed in, not right now, I'll say when it happens. So yeah, second week of some interesting inter-team dynamics. But in hindsight, disqualified. So perhaps maybe not having the best result in the end doesn't hurt so much after getting the DQs. Now, the DQs there, Lewis Hamilton, what was that? That was a skid pad, right?
Rear skid block, the rear of the car. Ferrari came out with a statement saying they miscalculated the consumption. So obviously didn't burn the fuel quick enough and the car was still too heavy, causing him to be 0.5 millimeter under legal limit.
Mate, those tolerances are pretty tiny, right?
Well, that's a credit card, right? It's like, man, like nothing. So, yeah, unlucky there. And then Charles being underweight, riding on the one stopper, bit of a George Russell at Spa, excessive tyre wear, brought the car underweight. So, in the end, like you said, in hindsight, position change didn't mean shit, which is unlucky because, they definitely...
I mean, it's still points at the end of the day.
Yeah, they need to get their balloon knots in order because they can't be doing this stuff in another 3, 4, 5 races time.
Yeah, true. So yeah, not ideal. I mean, Hamilton was P6, so there's a relatively decent haul of points just gone like that. I even heard with Charles Leclerc, they even placed the end plate onto the car to try and make weight, but after extracting the fuel, it was still under, and Pierre Gasly for Alpine had the exact same problem. So again, really tight tolerances, but rules are rules. So can't skirt around those. Another little interesting inter-team play was Albon again outperforming Carlos. Carlos lucky to pick up 1 point in P10 only due to the DQs. This one is quite interesting because I thought Carlos was going to outperform Albon, and I believe you did too, right?
Yeah, definitely expecting him to outperform Albon, but he just said he struggled with front tyre graining all weekend, and he was expecting to be quicker. Not quite sure where the pace went. For Albon though, it's good, man. It's got to be doing his confidence the world of good. I think he's doing all the right things at the moment, putting the pressure back on Carlos, which is good to see.
Yeah, because I mean, as we discussed, Albon's probably had it a little bit easy with having a teammate that just hasn't performed, and we're all expecting Sainz to come in and pick up the pieces and really put Albon under pressure. So a good start to the season for Albon. So let's hope that continues. I'm sure Sainz will pick up his performance in the upcoming races. On to Aston Martins now. Another DNF for Fernando. This time not his fault. Looked to be a rear brake issue. Got a little bit too hot and basically had no brakes there. And another relatively decent performance for Stroll. Picked up P9th again, taking advantage of those DQs. What do you think? Knives out for Fernando. 2 DNFs.
Yeah. I mean, would have been scary, man. Like losing the brake pedal. like he did. Imagine losing your brake pedal at the end of that big long back straight there. Far out. Could have been so much worse. Better to lose it going into turn one. Yeah, unlucky. Aston Martin's still got a fair bit of work to do. For Stroll, man, he's doing all right so far. I mean, we're only 2 races in, but he's doing the job. He's sort of been matching it with Fernando at the moment, so...
Yeah, because, I mean, it was an absolute bit of a shit show last year. You know, Fernando just dominated him. So, yeah, Stroll, he's been there, there or thereabouts with Fernando. So, yeah, looking good. Yeah, I'm sure Fernando will be looking for a much better performance come Japan in a couple of weeks. I've already seen rumours and calls about Fernando's too old and he should step aside. But, you know, look, this is a DNF that wasn't anything to do with his ability. Now, Mercedes... Solid effort from Russell, another P3, so another podium again. Kimi in a solid P6. Looking all right for Mercedes. Look, they're definitely not the quickest car out there, but they're picking up points.
Bit of a dark horse, I think. I think their pace is a little bit understated. Again, it's not that blinding pace of McLaren, but they're definitely quicker than Ferrari, and you would probably have to say quicker than Red Bull at the moment. So George is just doing what he needs to do, just keeping that thing on the podium. It's a good start to the season. For me, there might be a bit of a smoky come towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree. They feel like the out of the top 4 teams, they just sort of feel like the one that just doesn't have so many eyes on them.
Well, they seem pretty consistent. Their pace seems pretty consistent. You know, you look at Antonelli, his lack of experience, and he's fighting in the 10. So that car's clearly got some genuine pace in it. Not as much as what they want, but I think they're definitely like maybe the second quickest car, I would say, on the grid. You can't really say Red Bull is that outright pace. I think Max is just making that car look a lot better than what it is. So for me, Mercedes pace is genuine there.
Yeah, definitely the dark horse. And, you know, if they can unlock a little bit more performance out of that car with a little bit more development over the next couple of races, yeah, the top 3 teams may have a little bit of an extra fight on their hands. Talking about Red Bull, again, Max just doing Mr. Max Verstappen things, just dragging the absolute limit out of the car, and poor old Liam Lawson with another weekend that I'm sure he would like to forget.
I feel sorry for Lawson because he needs time. He needs time in that car, and unfortunately, Max can't keep carrying that team forever. Max definitely outperformed that car. It was just a championship drive, man. Just a driver for champion. You know, we've seen Lewis do drives like that. We've seen Alonso do drives like that. That was a driver for champion. That's how you're going to win a championship. Maximising your points when you're not the quickest car on the grid.
Yeah, it's just consistently picking up those points, those good finishes and capitalising where you can. And that's just what Max does. I mean, it's not often you see him make mistakes. So, yeah, he's still, despite McLaren having obviously the big advantage, can't count him out. And you can't count out Red Bull developing that car a little bit more too, and just with having a driver like Max. But Liam, he needs to definitely pick up his performance. He needs to start taking points. 2 races down, well, you could say 3, including the sprint. No points yet. So, again, we'll go a little bit more in depth about Liam and the rumour mill a little bit later on. Things not looking too rosy there. Now, the sister team, Racing Bulls, Hadjar and Yuki, I thought they were in for a better performance, but it looked like strategy bit them. The 2-stopper just didn't work for them.
Yuki was showing good pace, and they made that call to bring him in for the first of the 2 stops, and then they just couldn't recover from there. And then Yuki with that front wing collapse, not ideal at the best of times.
Yeah, definitely not.
So, yeah, disappointing. Had their pants pulled down by Haas, I think. You know, it probably should have been them picking up those points rather than a team like Haas.
Yeah, I think Yuki will be pretty disappointed with how the strategy played out because he was on track for some decent points. Hadjar put in a relatively decent performance as well. A great little battle at the end of the race with Doohan, which was probably one of the highlights. But yeah, that front wing blowout, were they experimenting with a flexi wing that went wrong?
Ooh, who knows? But yeah, I mean, he made no contact with any cars previous to that, and he was just sitting in the dirty air of another car, and it literally just collapsed. So you don't want to be doing that going into 30R in Japan. So they need to find out what the goal was there. You know, these things happen. Probably just one-off faulty front wing. I mean, it can happen. But Hadjar had a good weekend. Out-qualified Yuki. So it was a good bounce back from him.
Definitely. He will take a lot of confidence in that going into Japan because, that race in Melbourne really rocked him. But he's bounced back nicely. Now, you mentioned Haas taking away some points where you thought the Racing Bulls could have been. I'll be very happy with this weekend. I actually didn't see it coming.
Yeah, no, neither did I after the poor showing in Australia. So maybe they have carried on some of that performance from last year. A good double points finish. Apparently they found some issues with the aero, so maybe they got on top of those and that unlocked some of that performance. Solid race from Ocon, finishing 5th. I think he needed that. I think I mentioned, if he didn't start bringing the points, I think the pressure was going to mount. And a solid drive from Behrman too, finishing 8th. And that Haas definitely showed some good performance.
Definitely happy walking away with a double points finish. Alpine, pretty much another sort of poor weekend, really. Didn't really see too much of them. Gasly, again, disqualified. Well, not again, but he was disqualified. So disappointment for him. Jack Doohan, what do you think? Is he showing enough? I mean, he's not, from a performance-wise in the practice sessions quali, he wasn't too far off Gasly's pace, was he?
Exactly right. This is the thing, right? In qualifying, much on pace with Gasly, but I think he ended up with 2 different penalties over the weekend, so he's got 4 penalty points now. He can't afford to be doing that. Same as Lawson, man. It's just all eyes are on you, and you can't be making mistakes. Yes, that Alpine's definitely lacking performance. I think they were expecting to be a lot stronger than they were coming out of pre-season testing. You need to minimize your mistakes. If you're not going to be the points, you need to just bring the car home, pointing for Jack. But yeah, I do think the noise is getting louder and louder.
Yeah, and it will over the next 2 weeks, unfortunately. But let's hope they give him a bit of time and let him settle in, because it looks like the pace is there. Just got to eliminate those mistakes, and I think that'll come with a bit more experience. We haven't mentioned the poor old Kick Saubers. Really, not too much to mention. Unfortunately for Bortoletto, he went off on turn 1 and had to pit early, and really they just weren't in the fight whatsoever. Yeah,
I mean, we kind of expect that, don't we? I think Australia is an anomaly. The dry, you can clearly see they don't have the pace. Unlucky for Bortoletto. Go off in turn 1. And then also I think Hulk had floor damage running wide in turn 3, so that definitely affected his race.
Yep, so I mean, what did we learn? What did we learn from this weekend, particularly the race? We've learned that the McLarens are definitely dominant. Any other little highlights that poke up for you?
Yeah, for me, Max's drive, you look at that, then you think later on in the season, at some point in the season, Norris and Oscar are going to have to put in drives like that. Are they going to be able to do that? Guess we'll wait and see, because there will come a point in the season where they're not in the most dominant car. So
now, finishing off round 2, Norris is still leading the championship on 44 points. Verstappen trailing with 36. Russell, Mr. Consistent, with those 2 P3s on 35. But Piastri has now closed the gap with that great performance on 34. Antonelli rounds out the top 5 with 22. So still early days. A lot of points on the table. Lots of things can change. How many more races we got? 22 races? 22 more weekends? 24 this year?
Yeah, something like that. I think it's 22 more races. So be interesting to see as well as sprint races on top of that. You look at someone like George, if he can keep putting the thing on the podium like he's doing, and Lando, Oscar and Verstappen all take points off each other, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. Yeah, I mean, it's like we've previously discussed before, with 2026 coming in and the change of regs, and when teams start focusing more on that, that's going to be quite an interesting dynamic. Moving on, obviously we've got a lot of rumours coming out. It's almost been 24 hours since the race. Naturally, all eyes are on Red Bull, what they're going to do. Regarding Liam Lawson's performance, look, I mean, if you're Horner right now, what decisions are you making? Like, how are you handling this?
Yeah, it's a tough one, because I don't think they want to make the same mistake they did with Checo last year. Fortunately, Liam needs time in that car. He just hasn't managed to get it in the window yet. He doesn't have time, unfortunately. I don't think Red Bull are going to give him the time. They need to get on top of it early, because they clearly want to prioritise Constructors' Championship this season. They don't have to worry about Max at all. So pressure's on in that second seat. Yeah, it's a tough one.
See, if I'm Horner right now, I'm thinking along the lines of, okay, first race, big pressure. P3 in Melbourne was compromised, potentially compromises qualifying, tough conditions, wet race, etc. Not to mention they threw on a different wing and he started from pit lane. So essentially jumped into a car, new rear wing. So, it's like, here you go, race it. If the balance is bad, well, the gamble didn't pay off. Same thing sort of happened over China, where he started from pit lane as they made changes to the suspension, I believe. This wouldn't have happened if he had put in the performance in qualifying. So it's not really an excuse for him, but you're then jumping into another race from pit lane, making pretty big changes to the car, and then, it's a gamble, right? So was Red Bull making these changes looking at performance based on, I don't know if they were new components or not, but maybe radicalizing the setup change to sort of see how things would turn out as more of a testing session? Because if you noticed the sprint race, he made pretty good headway passing cars. And he mentioned during the race, he just had no pace, tires were going off, and he just didn't look like he could get through the field. Based on that, I'm thinking to myself, surely you got to give the guy a little bit more time. Surely you give him this triple header coming up, or at least Japan, especially at a track he's raced at before.
You would think you have to at least give him Japan. Like you said, it's a track that he knows. It's a track that he's performed well at. From Red Bull's point of view, don't have the quickest car. Max is in a winning car. So you've got McLaren, Mercedes and Ferrari both relatively close to each other. So you're losing double the amount of points. If you're not winning races, you're definitely hemorrhaging constructors' points.
Like you mentioned with Perez last year, and, in hindsight, a lot of people thought that Perez should have been replaced a lot sooner due to that, what you're saying. I mean, he just wasn't picking up enough points in regards to the Constructors' Championship, and Red Bull ended up in P3 overall. It's a tough one. I mean, hindsight, look, it's one of those things, right? A lot of people are saying now that Ricardo should have stayed in the seat for longer and or maybe replaced Perez during the season last year. There's a lot of dynamics at play here. I believe they really need to give Liam one more shot. I just feel like he needs a weekend that he's not compromised. Look, Japan isn't a sprint race. He's got 3 practice sessions to get his head around the car, the tyre working, hopefully have a good qualifying and decent race, and then I think that'll settle him. If the performance doesn't come in Japan, you would have to think a straight swap for Yuki, wouldn't you?
I think so. You'd have to definitely be thinking like that, because you don't want to get, who knows, Max might not win a race. So if he's the only one up there fighting, you're going to get to a point where you just lose those points with one person. So in saying that, put Yuki in the car. I don't even think Yuki's going to be anywhere close to Verstappen. Anyone that gets in that car is not going to be anywhere near Verstappen. We sit here and go, yeah, you need to be close. But car set up for him, it's quite a hard car to drive. And as we've seen, how many people will be in that team now? Everyone struggles. Is the grass going to be greener? Don't know. You'll only know when you put someone else in that car, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, Yuki was pulled away from a little bit of PR from, I think the question was asked about him replacing Lawson, and he was basically like, yeah, for sure, he's keen to do it. But yeah, it's a bit of the poison chalice, that second seat. I mean, there's been plenty of drivers that have just struggled, and at the moment Liam is, but I just feel he just needs a little bit more time, and obviously Red Bull doesn't have a lot of time to give, but I think Japan is really you got to give him that shot. Practice sessions, quali, race, and if it just doesn't come to him then I think you're looking at a straight swap. I mean, there's a few little rumors circulating about Colapinto coming in, or perhaps Red Bull essentially borrowing him. But I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for Alpine to do that, because if you look at Doohan's struggles as well, like, wouldn't they be going, no, we're happy to keep Colapinto here because we want to see how Doohan progresses?
Can you really imagine Briatore giving anything to Red Bull unless they paid him? Yeah, no, you're right there. I don't think that they would even consider it. So I don't even know where that rumor's come from. Like you said, Jack's under the pump. If he doesn't have another good showing in the next 2 races, then yeah, you would imagine he'll be gone, turfed out, and Colapinto will come in. But you can't loan Colapinto and then go, no, we want him back. I don't know how that dynamic would work.
Yeah, the most sense is a straight swap. If it is Liam, it's got to be Yuki. I mean, it's his 5th season, so he's experienced now. I think he's just really the only option. I mean, you wouldn't throw Hadjar in there. I mean, that's just craziness, because I think you'll just get the same. Yeah, I mean, Liam is good. Like, he's showing he's good enough. And he's racy again, like he had a pretty decent 11 race stint with the Racing Bulls. So I mean, let's see how this one pans out. But yeah, I think Japan is going to be the big one. I think it would be extremely harsh if they make the swap now, considering Liam really hasn't had a clean weekend.
Exactly. No, you're right. It would be harsh, but Red Bull are harsh, so you can never rule it out.
Yeah, and you don't know what Helmut is thinking. He is probably the most ruthless man in Formula One. But other than that, I think all the other rookies are looking all right. Behrman bounced back well. Hadjar has bounced back. Bortoletto, again, making the mistake. Probably a little bit of pressure on him, but if you're in a back market team, there's just not a lot of eyes on you, right? You can sort of get away with struggling a little bit more. The pressure doesn't sort of get thrown on you as much as if you're a new driver in a big team. So it just looks like the boys from Australia and New Zealand just need to come Japan, put in a big one.
Especially for Liam, because I probably feel a bit more for Liam than I do for Jack. For me, Jack, yes, he's in a team where the car isn't the greatest. Should definitely have a better showing, maybe than what he is. But yeah, I really feel for Liam at the moment because I don't think he's going to get the shot that he deserves. Yeah, just my opinion. But all in all, it's a good weekend.
Yeah. Now, speaking of giving the drivers more time, we're almost out of time. Let's wrap things up. And Mick, are you back this week?
Back in the studio from Thursday. So looking forward to getting back. There's a lot going on in the world of Formula One, so being away makes it a little bit more difficult to keep on top of things. So looking forward to getting back and really getting our teeth stuck into this season.
Yeah, look forward to having you back and safe travels back. And I'm sure our next little meeting we'll have plenty more to discuss as these rumours start firing up this week. Chinese Grand Prix done and dusted. Now we're left with a couple of weeks of heating up rumour mill regarding a few drivers and teams. And we look forward to the next episode.
Catch you in the next one. Laters.